Oh, and we're live. All right, go Sixers. Big game tonight. Want to go home, as my son was saying this morning. Rocco, where's your stuff? You say want to go home? Stinks. All right, so interesting day in the market. S&P's down about 60 bips. Volatility also consolidated a bit. We'll take a look at what we mean by interesting day. Let's share our screen here. Two of the things that led to the decline were things that a long list of buyers are trying to get into. So you'll see if it's an opportunity or potentially a trend change. Let's see. So I have there in the top headline, oil and semiconductors lead the decline down 3%, both off by that much. Very hard to find things that were up, but there were a couple of areas. We'll take a look at the charts. It was airlines up, utilities, China, and bonds. Those had one or more standard deviation moves today. We can see why, and usually airlines correlated or inversely correlated with oil. When oil's down big, airlines are up big. This, I think, was a little bit different. United, I think, had a big beat or something like that along those lines. I saw a lot of airlines up today in the group. Utilities move, like bonds, they have a relationship as well. To the downside, a slew of commodities came in. Oil leading the downside on that front, down 3%. The basket of commodities down 1.5%. Semis got hit. Down 3%. I felt the pain with Taiwan Semi, who I believe report earnings tomorrow. So we'll see if that provides a spark one way or the other. And then Japan and tech got lit up. So let's take a look at some charts here. Okay. All right. So let me put this chart up here on the middle. All right. So here's the S&P. Basing a little bit longer. I wouldn't say a horrendous day today, but down 60 bips. We actually did break 500 on SPY, which equates with 5,000 or so with the S&Ps. This, like I said, a couple things can happen. It depends about how long we base. So we could base for a week, we could base for 2 months. And that would basically be around here between 465 and 525, and just chop traders and frustrate them and do it till, early summer. So that is something that is potential. And have fun trying to trade that environment with all the rotations underneath. Otherwise, the low could be in. This April low could be in the ones that we've seen. Although if you said that the other day, you were wrong, and then we went lower, and then we went lower. So definitely not a lot of strength here in the marketplace. We'll see if they want to let it get oversold. We'll see if we want to get oversold, pinch it. If that's the case, then you can get a little bit lower. We can definitely clip and break under 5,000. So we'll trade accordingly. I have that long shopping list. I did not pull the trigger on anything. Still the same list, and we'll see some got cheaper today. So let's see what is going on. The big up moves today. Jets, multiple standard deviation move up 3.9%. A robust 3.9%. That's a big move. This to me, this ETF has been, whoops, this isn't loading. Uno momento, por favor. I want to pull up that chart of the Jets on a 1 year. All right. So, yeah, I was just going to say, this looks like dead money to me around the 19 level. I'd rather be a buyer around that support. But, I think it just – you have some upside if you want to take that risk. And if you think commodity prices will fall, and, these could ride that tailwind, and especially if some names have good beats into earnings. But I don't love it here. I did like the trade earlier. I don't know. I'm just not you got to be really picky in these markets. This might have expanding upside to 21, which is a great 10% gain, but I'm not going to play it. All that being said, a big 4% gain today. Utilities, a huge mover. Let's see where it's moving to. Resistance, support, what? So this almost reminds me a little bit of the Jets chart, the airlines. Support down here at 62, where the other chart we looked at a different level. I don't really love this. I think you could get a bounce just due to the market moves and how correlated it is with bonds. I think you get a target of 67 if you're crazy about going along this. And this might take a month or two to unfold. This is the slowest moving sector, although today not up 2%. But I'm not going to – Daddy ain't going to play this fool. All right, A-share. Big up move. This has been a struggling name trying to find its way, as you can tell here. So those are the other two sectors where, United States companies based, jets, airlines, and utilities. And the resistance was to the bottom, or the support was to the floor, obviously. Here we have overhead resistance where the 200-day is sloping lower. So the other two, you had technical strength, at least of basing long, a list of buyers, as it were. This is the other way where you have a list of sellers. Let me see here. This is the China ETF. Yeah, I think it's kind of done. You might have some up move to 24.85, so 50 cents or 2%, but I'm not going to get crazy along with this. Yeah, I think I might hit its head here and then move back down. I've been looking at this area. China's got a lot of problems, but I'm not going to invest in it. And then TLT, we've been talking about this. I thought it had not magical, but a very, very strong support right there. And you saw what happened to it. This support went back to Thanksgiving, this 92 line, and now it's struggling. And we'll see if that's resistance. That support becomes resistance now. But in terms of a trade, I like TLT. This one really has fell out of bed the past week or so with rates, jumping over 4.5 in the 10-year. I think your next move for this is going to take a while. I would give this a month to get rates to go back down, meaning TLT to get back up. If you could get a short entry at around 92, that level I was talking about before, I would short it with a target of 89. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I want to just basically rerun this trade if possible. But I did like it to short back here. Didn't get the right entry, and this thing fell out of bed here. So we'll see. This is one of the reasons in the microcosm sense of higher for longer. If that old support becomes resistance, then you have a new floor, for example, in the 10-year, as this corresponds to the 20-year bond. All right, now things that were down big. USO, I said you got to give us a couple of weeks to get an entry because everyone's all smoking commodities, as it were. This one doesn't look too bad. As you can tell here, is the 21 EMA and the middle Bollinger Band point. It's at 70, and this specifically, it's at 79.94. We'll call it 80. You're getting that on sale because of today's decline. It doesn't look bad. I still think people will flock to mega cap tech, although it could base for upwards of a quarter in a horrible fashion. I don't think that's the case, but you have to play that in the cards. Oil is still not my favorite commodity. It is pretty strong. This thing topped 5 days ago. If I get an entry, if this could base between 75 and 80 by the end of the week, I think I'll have to get long and include it in the portfolio because I don't have much by way of commodities, and this would be a good entry. So this one looking better and better. I like this rising 200-day moving average. Let's see if you get that entry. I don't know. Maybe I have to be a little bit even quicker and nimble, and maybe tomorrow get in. We'll see. Today, I don't think the selling is done down 3%, but we'll see. This thing whips and back and forth. This is the larger commodity complex, down 1.5% today. If you were looking to get long this, so this one not as great. This has a lot of different commodities in it. This topped last September, so don't think of this when you think of gold and silver. This has been the 200-day moving average has served as heavy resistance for a long time. Similar story I was talking about with the other asset class. Now we'll see if this is support. Doesn't look like it as it sliced through it today. We'll see. We were overbought though since April 2nd. So this runner has to come up for air too, and this isn't quite the best chart. So that's that. Semiconductors, the superstar of last year. This year for the most part had a multiple standard deviation move today, down 3%, which is big, all the way down to lower Bollinger Band. Let me see this. This doesn't happen often. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in the past year, this is about the 6th time you've had the opportunity to buy semiconductors outside their lower Bollinger Band. So it's a standard deviation move. For example, 100 people walk in, 80% of people are going to be between 4 feet and 6.5 feet. This is that kind of standard deviation. This is on the outside of those wings. This is an 8-foot person or a 4-foot midget. I don't know if that's appropriate to say, walking in. So it kind of catches your attention. This is a high on the scale in terms of frequency count. This semiconductor group, obviously high on NVIDIA and such, hit 239 on March 8th. Now we're, 6 weeks past that. Still like the rising 200-day. Great chart. Only been overbought, never oversold. In terms of RSI, it can, back in the fall, September and October, it did go lower. It actually touched that 200 bar moving average. That would be a much scarier situation if that happened here in the broader markets, but we were much closer in terms of the band. We have more velocity here. I think you're getting an entry point, one of, something that's going to happen maybe, like I said, a dozen times in a year is on the high side if the sector continues to lead. So today, in my opinion, was one of the very few days you had your chance to buy NVIDIA and Taiwan Semi and all those names really on sale. Let's look at the even broader group now. Tech. I am suffering in these calls. I bought XLK. I remember, if you remember me saying on the video last week, perhaps too early, but I'd rather still be long. I eat that. I eat that. No, it's never good to be early. So yeah, just losing theta and the option is decaying. Thankfully, I subsidized and had a credit leg that I roll week to week, so that helps. But it's still a losing trade. This rise 200-day, I just want to see the same thing. This closed below its lower Bollinger Band. I don't even think that happens here. 1, wow, 2, and that was the lows of the past year. So let me look at the lower Bollinger Band, 200.6. Yeah, and today we closed at 199. So this doesn't happen in terms of RSI. This is about it. You might get a little bit lower, like just a touch lower, but I think this is a buying opportunity unless you think this is the end of the bull market, like for the year. And if you see drawdowns coming in tech and not new highs put in place, I think this is a buy, because even if it bases, tech has already been basing, that's the point, since January 19th. Tech's based this whole year. Tech is actually where it was on Martin Luther King Day. All right. So there's been no, we hit a high, yes, on March 8th, but you're right back there almost, just up a handful on the year. So I think you got a buying opportunity. That's a very rare thing. We were making a big point about SMH, 6 opportunity in the past year. This is your second time to buy XLK outside its lower Bollinger Band. And I could honestly even argue that it's the first, because when we closed on the lows, April 25th last year, 144.70. Okay. It did it then too. All right. So this is the second time only in the past year it's done that. Let's see what happens. Netflix reports earnings tomorrow night. There will be catalysts for this for sure in the coming weeks, especially with Microsoft. This is the Microsoft and Apple funds. So 40% is that. And then Broadcom an additional 10%. So we'll see. That is interesting about the XLK move. Potentially, I don't want to throw good money after bad, but I would potentially average down in the XLK call spread I have. I might have to check the duration and the volatility on that, or maybe buy a different strike and form up a ladder. All right. And then Japan, this was on my list. I actually put in a buy order. It did not execute, so I'll probably do this tomorrow. EWJ, a big move lower today, down 1%, which is big for the country. This one actually had vol expansion, so you're not closing quite below. It's actually is by 1% closing below its Bollinger Band. It's done that a handful of times, like 3. So again, you're getting big opportunities. I don't want to say generational buying opportunities, but things are changing in the market. The buy the dip mentality has changed for different names. So if you want to get some of these leaders of 2023 and for the most part 2024 until they get back their gains, this is a beautiful chart. I still want to get long EWJ. I actually will probably play DXJ. It has a better chart. This is the Japan yen is hitting 40-year lows. This is hitting 40-year highs. It will have an effect on companies in the United States that do business in Japan with the currency. But yeah, so this just hit the DXJ, the hedge equity fund, hit new highs just 2 days ago. I love that. 110 is the high here. It's already trading down to 106, and this is a lower volatility product. I believe it's 17 volatility, so similar-ish with the S&P. So this is not run crazy. It doesn't have huge 2% drawdown days in that regard. So getting very close to pull the trigger. I would love to get in on this about 104. That would be great. And then the target of 110 still holds. So that is probably the next thing to get executed in my list. All right. Mouthful. Oh, all right. Top gainers of the past 5 days. I really have to squint for these, and it's really tough. And some are super correlated. You'll see what I mean in a minute. VXX is the best gainer in the market, up 8% in the past week. So congrats. I think you're going to get this bunching around 1530 level. I zoomed in. That's a 3-month chart. Yeah, it's the top Bollinger Band. I mean, if you did the same thing of how many times it happens, it's harder to see here. It basically doesn't do it. It does not close above its upper Bollinger Band. And are we having that happen now? We traded above it, did not close above it. So still in bounds. So just to give you, an idea of how frequent this is. But yeah, this looks extended to me. I think this has a date with 14 very soon, which would be a 93-cent reduction or like a 4% down move, which was nice. All the indices were down today, and this still consolidated down 1%. So I'm not, going to buy it or anything like that on a momentum extension. I was considering buying put spreads, but it doesn't work great for this fund. A share, I'm not pulling that chart up again, but that is the second best long of the market. And comparatively, it sucks. VXX is up 8% for the past week. I got to squint and go all the way down to find anything. It's A share up 2% in the past week. So not even, 0.5% a day. And then GLD, the third best long, it's up 1.8% of the past week. Similar to what I was saying about oil, gold obviously is my favorite commodity. It's on fire. If it bases here and that's all it does, that's not a super amazing entry considering it spiked at 225. So we need much more than this. I was hoping for an entry around 210. Market does not have to do anything that I ask it to do, and that would be a reasonable entry point. Probably what happens is it gets there and people don't want it anymore, and you think that was the story and everything's in the rear view. But truth be told, if you get in at 210, estimates are, the moving averages are rising, maybe 212. But I'm not going to touch it up here. Still wait for this to come in. Could take at least another week. I'm going to let this thing come down. Silver is the other fourth best long of the week, up 1.5%. So I'm not talking about these are big moves, but they've definitely been defensive. And similar, this is not, consolidation enough for me. I need an entry at like 24.5 around here. So I need, basically a breakdown, it almost looks like, in terms of the chart. But I'm not going to play that here. And then something I did play, very unfortunately, Bitcoin. Not the right time for that trade. Bitcoin, let me just see here. I've been liking the setup for a while. I think there's support here. This 20, what am we looking at? Bito on a 1 year? Yeah, so I like to support 26. Could this break at any point? Absolutely. It equates to that, level where we are today, 26 here. I like it. That goes to the, February highs. I think it looks good there. What happened in terms of RSI? We got oversold or kind of sentiment change? No. Otherwise, that was August, and really you saw the bottom fall out. I still like the setup here. You just have to be more patient. I think the target ultimately is still around 33. But this is, full disclosure, just facts, the worst trade of the past week. You'll find the best 3 absolute trades of the week, and we're going to do it now. Bitcoin down 13% over the past 5 days, or 2% a day. Today, right in line with the average. So crapola. RG, the second best one, and I bemoaned yesterday. I should have just shorted it when I had that note on my desk. This is now broken down and broke under support. You can see it. Look at a little walk of death there a little bit, out of its Bollinger Band several times. And even for a higher velocity basket, it doesn't really do it that often. Even on the lows back on Halloween's Eve, it didn't do it. Here did it twice. Yeah, here did it 2 days in a row. So not a fun time for these genomic companies. And for Cathie Wood, it's oversold for the first time since it did it here in the fall for a month. And like we said, it was oversold. Here it did it for about 2 days. Here it did it for 5 weeks. So I don't like the velocity that it's having here. This looks like it is just going to stair step lower, lower, lower. Godspeed. This looks like it's going lower. Yeah, it does have ultimately, support to the lows of 22, but I'm not going to chase it here with puts. I would love if I had it here, as I said, but that's hindsight's rear view. The ARK broader fund is also not doing well. So thoughts out to Cathie, although she's done very well in many years. I like Cathie Wood. Yeah, this broke support. This is crazy. So the ARK fund, not having an amazing year or anything, rising 200 day, still not a terrible name, especially if you have the stomach for that appetite for the of risk. It broke underneath it. This could happen for an extended period of time. I like the thing it has support of 44. I think you get a mean reversion bounce here, but I'm not going to do anything. I don't like these trades. Anything, like I said, I'm waiting to see what the market does, consolidate, base, and then I'm going to put capital at it, believing the bull trend is still intact. So these trades aren't. If something looked like a great short, I would do it and early. This was one. This really, really hurts. Nat gas, it was down 70 bips today. right on its lower Bollinger Band. This thing's crapola though. It does this. It gives you, look how many opportunities. It does that two times in a quarter. So that's what I'm talking about. Superstars and losers. Tech gave you 2 times the opportunity to do it this year. Nat Gas, who hit 52-week low yesterday, gives you these opportunities 3 times in a quarter, once a month. So, and that's the difference, once a month versus once or twice a year. That's what the ones you want to get long and the ones you want to get short. But yeah, my goal for this, the target all along, as I said, was 1370. So it's really tough to squeeze out of a higher cost options trade. You're not going to do that for 70 cents. That's not really attractive. And then lastly, so nat gas is the 4th biggest loser in the market at 9%. And then the 5th biggest loser, TAN, or the solar trade. Yeah, I think Tesla was probably lower again today, of course. The target for this as well. This was a great short at 43, a great one. A lot of signs to short here. You saw this bunching and just knew the bomb was going to fall out, and then the market participated. And you had exactly areas like this start to really suffer. Nat gas even weaker. This you had a few chances. 1 outside the Bollinger Band, and now you're getting 2, 3, 4. So this is a piece of crap that does that 4 times in a quarter. So that's what we're trying to. You're not trying to get long names like this. That will disappoint you over and over. There's lines of sellers. Like I said, the target's 40 though, so it's right where it is. So if I get a pop, some kind of exuberance in the market, and it pushes it up, cool. It'll give me an entry, but I'm not going to short it much lower. Beyond where it is here. All right, so best 3 absolute trades of the week. Short Bitcoin, that is a counter trend trade. Bitcoin, of course, a performer, last 1 year, 3-year time frames, 10 years. So that's counter trend any time frame you look at it. Second best trade, absolute trade of the week is short ARKG. That is with trend. That has been struggling for a while now. ARKG down 11%. And then third worst, or best, I should say, absolute trade of the week is short ARK, down 9% over the past week. All right, we got Netflix earnings tomorrow night. I'm not really sure of a ton other ones, but we will recap it tomorrow. Later, go Sixers. Want to go home.